o'clock, and I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. It looks like that all members currently on the board are present.
Yes, if I may, for clarification, Bob Burley's term expired as of December 31st, 2022. And tomorrow night, the Board of Supervisors will make a decision on one of your colleagues to join the board.
Probably. Okay. I will go ahead and start with the opening remarks here. Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Woodbury County Board of Adjustment. Today's date is January 9th and the time is approximately 6:01 p.m. Tonight's meeting will be audio taped and the minutes will be prepared. In respect to all parties, we ask that those present turn off cell phones or set to vibrate. Those in attendance are asked to legibly complete the attendance sheet upon the front table. We have that.
Yep.
Attendance sheet out. Okay. I'd like to take a moment to review the procedures that the board will follow tonight. First, the board will handle the normal housekeeping agenda items. And for each application on the agenda, I will open the public hearing on the item. Planning and zoning staff will then present the staff report, including the staff recommendation. Any letters or other communication received from the public prior to the hearing will be entered into the record. The applicant will then have the opportunity to present his or her case and respond to the staff report. Next, we will hear comments from the public. If you would like to speak either in support of or against the application, you must come to the microphone. Please state your name and address for the record. All interested parties shall be heard, but repetitious comments should be avoided. Repetitious or irrelevant comments may be ruled out of order by the chair. I ask that you remain respectful and courteous with all your comments at all times. After all public comments have been heard, the staff and the applicant may make a closing statement. The hearing shall then be closed by motion and vote. Thereafter, no further comments from staff, public, or applicant may be heard unless asked for by the board. The board shall then deliberate the case and may ask questions of the applicant, staff, or any party offering testimony. However, such questions do not reopen the hearing for additional comments from the public unless so requested or approved by the board. The board will then formulate and vote on a motion. The motion will typically either grant or deny the requested application. Any board member who has an ex parte communication to place in the record of this meeting should do so prior to beginning of the deliberation of a respective agenda item. Any person desiring to appeal the board's decision to a court of record may do so within 30 days after the filing of this decision with the Planning and Zoning Office. Okay, we're going to move on to the public comment on matters not on the agenda. Okay, and seeing none, I will move down to the next item, approval of the minutes from November 7th, 2022. You guys all had a moment to review the minutes.
I move that the minutes be accepted as dispersed or dispensed out to us.
Okay, so we have a motion by Pam to approve the minutes. A second by Ashley. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Approve the minutes. I guess items of business. I guess, Dan, do we move that down to you where we have the election of chair of the Board of Adjustment for 2023?
Yes, this would be since we're under a new calendar year, the board's will and pleasure is to choose a respective chair and vice chair. It could either be done by making a recommendation or appointment recommendation or by private. I understand last time that you did it, you kind of did recommendations among the board there. So it's kind of fully up to the board.
Make a motion, Dan stays right where he's at.
I second that.
We're gonna owe me a steak dinner.
We'll bill that to Dan.
Well, it's been motioned and seconded, a motion by Tom, seconded by Ashley, that I remain as chair, Daniel Hager. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say it. All those opposed? Same sign. Okay. So we have a a chair elected for 2023. Next item of business, the election of the vice chair of the Board of Adjustment for 2023.
I make a motion that Pam stays as vice chair.
Okay, there's been a motion by Ashley that Pam remains vice chair for the Board of Adjustment for 2023, seconded by Tom. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, Pam has been reappointed to the vice chair for the Board of Adjustment for 2023. Okay, I believe now I'm going to open the public hearing, and I would ask that Dan would read the staff report.
Yes, thank you. Donald and Elizabeth Paulson, Elizabeth happens to be here tonight, have filed a variance application to build an accessory shed closer to the front property line on the front edge of the house within the front yard setback and over a well pit. The property owner has submitted a site plan identifying the requested location as around 37 feet from the front property line and 165.6 feet from the side yard line. This proposal has been properly noticed in the Sioux City Journal's legal section on December 30th of 2022. The neighbors within 500 feet have been duly notified via December 29th, 2022 letter about tonight's January 9th, 2023 Board of Adjustment public hearing and have been requested to comment. As of the printing of the staff report, no comments have been received in opposition. Appropriate stakeholders, including government agencies, utilities, organizations, have been notified and been requested to comment. There was a significant comment that we kind of worked through with Siouxland District Health that was included in the record. The property is not located in a floodplain. Based on the information received and requirements set forth in the ordinance, staff recommends approval so long as the state requirements can be met by the property owner. Just kind of going through the packet, you kind of see a generalized site plan there. On the second page, they have indicated that the new structure, likely a 12 by 12, would be at least 10 feet away. This area that I would want to point out, if you've had a chance to look at it on Beacon, it's a very unique property. Because the front property line, we're very used to them abutting directly to the road. And a portion of this property you'll see abuts up to Highway 141. Well, their near neighbor there is actually in front of them. So their front property line here kind of more so feels like a side yard property line to an extent, because you have a neighbor there right in front of you. So everything within this AE district pulls back to the 75 feet. But if you really kind of consider road right of way, and the county engineer typically would comment, he did not make a statement on this one as the road is significantly far away, as roads are considered a major part of the variance consideration in this regard. The big part of having the variance is typically you don't put accessory structures in front of the front edge of the house. But in this regard, we're kind of dealing with it's inside of the setback, it's in front of the house, and they just simply want to put this in there to kind of, I'll have to defer to Elizabeth on kind of protecting some of the well-based assets like the electrical from water drainage going in there and freezing and items like that. So it's really kind of a proactive mechanism they're requesting to kind of protect their property. So that's all I've got.
Okay, would you like to give us your thoughts on that? Just remember to state your name and address in the microphone if you would.
Elizabeth Olson, I live at 34 You can't really tell from that picture, but it's on the side of a hill. Water all runs downhill. I replaced the well pump, pressure tank, sometimes each. Especially this one we're looking to do, we've got a very long around it. It's not working enough to water out of it. Rain comes down the stairs and it's just put shed over the top of it to protect it. Reading that, ruined.
Come out by 12. Yeah. It's,
Retainer wall is. This is sitting on the side of the house.
Oh,
No, the dirt is all pulled away from that because now I need to go back and seal around it and then push the dirt back. Oh, there'll be about. Put this sticking above the dirt on the north side.
will the shed be insulated then too? Cause it seems like I read in there somewhere that it was gonna have to be heated in order to keep it from freezing the.
I saw that in there.
Freezing.
I saw that in there too, Pam. And were you aware of that?
Heat lamp.
Just so that it's enough that it doesn't freeze up. Yeah, and doesn't freeze up.
It's got the appropriate opening on the top so that, God forbid, if I ever had to do another pressure tank or anything, it can be gotten out of there.
I was out there today and I laid eyes on it, saw exactly what you were talking about there. And you're right. I mean, it is a side hill, right? Sure. Yep. I'd like to clarify in some of our notes here,
Well, it's.
Yeah, the-
all over the well.
yeah, the well yes, it's off to the side. It almost appears that in some of our notes here that this would be built over the well pit itself, but it's, from what I saw, the well is outside of it.
Which wasn't right, I just always called it a well pit.
This is just pretty much your pressure tank pit with your electronics down in there. Yep. So do you have any other comments you'd like to add about it?
I think it'd probably be good, you read the Siouxland District Health comments.
Yeah,
Be on the record that that'll be compliant.
okay, and that's,
That rural lake.
okay, so you have read the Siouxland District Health. Okay, because one thing I was wondering about that, I mean, they ask in here that, do you want me to still read this, Dan? Or- Okay, I'll read what section, this is from the Iowa Administrative Code 49.21, 6, talking about pressure tank locations. It says tank location, buried pressure tanks should not be permitted after July 1, 2009. If pressure tanks are not located in a residence or other heated structure, they should be housed in the following manner. A buried vault, frost pit. The vault and the vault opening shall be sized to allow ease of access for the installation and maintenance of necessary equipment. The vault shall be as watertight as possible. The outside of the vault should be completely tiled at the base and either drained to daylight or to a sump pit that is equipped with a sump pump. The trench should be backfilled with pea gravel to 1 foot above the tile. All wiring in the vault shall be in watertight conduit. No buried vault shall be allowed within a 100-year floodplain. Buried vaults are not recommended because of the hazard associated with confined space entry. And you have B, above ground structure. The structure and access opening shall be sized to allow the installation and maintenance of necessary equipment with a minimum of inconvenience. The structure shall be of an all-season design and it shall be insulated and heated to prevent freezing of the tank. The poured concrete floor is provided. The top of the floor shall be at least 4 inches above the surrounding ground and be sloped to a drain or to the door to facilitate drainage of the room. It's recommended that the structure be located no closer than 10 feet from the well. If the structure is located over the well, it must have a hinged roof or removable hatch over the well or have other provisions for pulling the well pump.
There is a recessed pit for the sump pump. Any water first get in there. Everything is in conduit.
The way I read this, Dan, are they going, if we, approve this with this stipulation, is this going to result in more of a hardship because of, how will their situation, I guess, what will it fall under? Because this is an above ground structure, but it's not an above ground structure for the pressure tank. You know, and the way I read this, these rules apply if you're putting a pressure tank above ground. And this one's already below ground, so would they? Yeah, since it's been there. So if we approve this based on this recommendation here, would they be required to insulate and heat this building? Like this paragraph states?
Well, as for the county, from the zoning perspective, we don't have the building codes. And so they would have to comply with Siouxland District Health. And I will defer to the packet on page 8 where they had made the comment there. Eric Day, actually District Health reached out to the state basically and pulled this language up.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, that's fine if they build a shed over a pressure tank, which are allowed as long as the well is not in the same pit. However, to grant the variance, the pressure tank shed has to meet the requirements of what you had read.
Yeah, and I see they have B, section B highlighted here for an above ground structure. And that, you know, that talks about all season design, insulated and heated. So I mean, is District Health going to come out, you know, and enforce this to where?
Yeah, District Health would be given a copy of the permit and that would be pretty much in their ballpark.
Okay, so are you aware that they would make you insulate and heat this building? You're okay with that? Okay, because I didn't want to have you think you could just. Yep, so you're okay with that part of it, okay? Because I just thought, you know, the way this is written. Hmm.
Well,
The
the
structure.
shed, yeah.
Well, that's the way this reads. Yeah, see, that's where I'm trying to, you know, get some clarification is because this looks like they're, you know, talking about an actual above ground structure where your pressure tank is actually above ground and it's not. So that's why I'm wanting to make sure we don't make them do something that's, you know, harder than they originally realized because of this wording.
They would have to have at least a conversation with them about this permit. So this variance pretty much is construed to the placement of it at that respective location. They still have to meet the state requirements of whatever they would be.
And if we were to approve, then we could do it with the stipulation that, work with Siouxland District Health to comply with all recommendations and expectations of the code.
That's where I try to help them out a little bit. Is it necessary? Because the way I'm reading it, I don't know if Siouxland District Health should necessarily have any jurisdiction over this because the tank is underground already and they aren't building a new one. Yeah, I don't want them to get into trouble with Siouxland District Health, have them come out and say, well, now you're gonna bring your pressure tank out of the ground, you're gonna put it on top of the ground and have to heat this.
Yeah, typically, the Board of Adjustment puts language like Ashley had referenced that they shall comply with any state and federal, and it's kind of a catch-all scenario with the full-out encouragement that they talk directly with the health department. So your resolution that you offer them, if this is approved, could have language in there that they shall follow.
Because we wouldn't have authority to do something like with the stipulation that no changes be made to the, oh crap, I'm losing my words, like the pressure tank. Like if it were to be like move it above ground, we don't have the authority to make any kind of stipulation like that. That would solely fall with the Siouxland District Health Department.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're okay with having to work with them then if we move forward with this? Okay. I just want to make sure you weren't going to have something hit you unexpectedly because of this potential provision here.
Make me move it. Something that's already been there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which it would have been grandfathered in with
I would think
the
so.
passage of that.
I can't
legislation.
imagine they're gonna make her put it, no.
Yep.
I can't imagine they do that.
See, the
I think
board,
they would be happy. They
Yeah.
Mhm.
there.
yes, and I would say the Board of Adjustment is aware of any type of extra governmental regulation, but it's pretty much staying in with what the basic permitting and placement is within the county zoning ordinance. But if there's any like state expectations of any other they have to follow that anyway, regardless of being part of the state of Iowa.
Mhm. I just don't want to cause anyone any more headache, so.
Any other questions? Thought your application was well put together.
We now need a motion to close the public hearing. Okay,
Motion to close.
we have a motion to close the public hearing by Ashley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Pam. Okay, public hearing is now closed.
Oh, you get to stay for this part because you lit, right?
Yeah.
Then we'll vote and whatever Daniel tells us to do.
Yeah.
He's got the instructions.
I will note that the staff has the suggested motion in the packet where we had recognized that Iowa Administrative Code should be followed, basically. So you can kind of consider that as part of that.
That would be my recommendation to approve with, following those expectations. And, if Siouxland District Health has anything else that the homeowners work with them to make sure everything is in compliance.
So, and I would also add or suggest just kind of the blanket statement of any other governmental regulations, whether it be federal or state, et cetera.
Any other governmental regulations, be it state, federal, local, whatever, that all of those are complied with. That would be my motion.
Do you want to write that down or do you want to stick with the suggested staff motion?
Or the suggested staff motion.
With the addition of all the other regulations.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess, do you have for the record, how do we want to state that? So we have your motion. So we have a motion by Ashley to recommend approval of a variance to place the proposed accessory structure closer to the front property line in the front of the house within the front yard setback over the well pit, pressure tank pit, with the condition that the Iowa Administrative Code, Chapter 49.216 be followed.
As well as any other legal laws,
State, federal.
state and federal laws.
Okay, so we have that motion by Ashley. Do we have a second? Second by Tom. Any further discussion? Okay, so all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, seeing none, the motion passes.
And if I may, I'll be in touch with you to talk about the next steps for the building permit.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for coming.
Good to see you, Elizabeth. Been a while.
Okay, I believe we have some information that Dan will provide us with about a commission to assess damage on property values for issues of eminent domain appointments, opportunities, and there, I guess, for issues of eminent domain, appointment opportunities are available. So I guess you want to tell us more on that.
Yes, the page 29 of your packet, the Board of Supervisors have been working tirelessly to point out that the county needs to have volunteers available to fulfill the what they call the commission to assess damages. And it takes people from expertise of these various categories that are before you on the board, folks from the agricultural community, owners of city property, folks that have real estate background, as well as maybe even anybody that has a job or a career path that they know what things are worth in terms of value. Basically, the commission to assess damages looks at offering a rate or a level of compensation when land kind of goes through the condemnation process, basically. So it's basically like your peers basically coming up and determining the value. I think they have up to 28 seats that are available on this. And when any issue comes up, basically it's selected through the court system. I understand, I think the judges pick from a pool, but these names just have to be available to serve. This isn't like a formalized commitment where you're going to meet monthly like you do on these boards. It's on a as needed basis. So
If you're called.
if you're called, absolutely. So with that said, if you all simply know of somebody that might be interested in it, we would just simply appreciate it. Tonight was just simply another way to talk to more people to get the word out, because this is very essential for Woodbury County. That's all I've got for that.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on matters not on the agenda? Anybody by phone?
On phone tonight, do we?
No one on the phone, no one in the boardroom. I guess we will move on to any item 7, any board member comment or inquiry? So we will, the way I understand, the Board of Supervisors will appoint someone tomorrow to fill this vacant seat.
Yes, the last week it was on the board agenda, and the Board of Supervisors decided to look further into the applications. They did interviews basically from the podium, and so tomorrow night they will end up selecting the 2 applicants are Doyle Turner and Jeff Hansen. So they will select among those 2 for that respective position.
All right. Anyone else have anything here from the board? Okay, I guess we can move on to item 8, staff update.
Okay, just one quick thing. I understand you're all aware, we've heard quite a bit about the CO2 pipeline issues. The zoning commission did hold a couple information meetings to gather information, but they ultimately had a public hearing on November 28th. It was a Monday. The Board of Supervisors took a recommendation from the zoning commission to stay with the current process that we have in place, which is the conditional use permit for zoning commission reviews. Board of Adjustment ultimately makes the decision based on the layout of the land. The staff did look at it with town engineer, emergency management, attorney's office. We had recommended 330 setback and these other issues of consultation zones at the public hearing for the zoning commission. With the commissioners, especially Chris Emerzan and Tom Bright had mentioned, were kind of issues of reverse setbacks where they kind of mentioned to the public the concern of maybe taking some areas out of commission for different types of structures. And so that meeting kind of generally showed the public kind of the scenarios there. If you do this or you don't do that, but they did not know enough in terms of, or there hasn't been enough communicated against about the conditional use permit process. Usually when a person goes through a conditional use permit process, they know it quite well as an applicant, but your average citizen that's never come to the Board of Adjustment, come to the zoning commission, or had that entire experience, I don't think has had the opportunity to realize the level of scrutiny that does go through an application. It goes through the scrutiny of the staff level, it goes through the scrutiny of the zoning commission, who then sends the recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. Much of the CO2 proposals that have been put out there are definitely helpful to understand the issues out there surrounding it. But to kind of in general, they're definitely out there to serve counties that don't have any type of ordinance or any type of zoning. The other thing is, that it wasn't discussed enough, but there's 2 federal lawsuits that have just been initiated with Story County. And of course, the other county, Shelby County, the 2 that have the ordinances challenging the county's right to do it. The federal law, it's argued that the Natural Gas Act and the Pipeline Safety Act ultimately preempt the local entities. So we're pretty much taking a wait and see approach to kind of what is going on. Zoning Commission did leave open the door if they're directed in the future to look at it again, possibly on a setback. They would definitely do that, but they reported back to the supervisors to basically leave things as are because of having that ability now to run them through the conditional use permitting procedure. The other thing too is the Iowa Utilities Board did meet on December 13th. They're looking at understanding whether something is a utility or not a utility. That would be a big role in terms of the eminent domain. If it's not a utility, then that can quite well change the permitting picture on that, whether it be landowners doing voluntary easements or not. Those type of scenarios there. I did see a report that the legislature, of course, I believe today was the first day. The Speaker of the House, Pat Grassley, had made a statement about something where there could be some legislation possibly in some form. So we have a lot to look at from the state level for the lawsuits and all of those aspects. So I just wanted to bring you all up to date. Supervisors are holding a recommendation to keep with the process that is in place.
Did they come to any kind of conclusion about whether the pipelines were utilities or not?
It's entirely up in the air right now. They've got we don't know when they'll report back yet at this point. That's the kind of the answer everybody's waiting for.
That meeting was held on December 13th.
It was the December 13th. It was kind of like I'm not gonna call it Zoom, but it was one of those video meetings.
Is there anything else or
That's all it's got.
that's all you've got? We have a
I make a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn by Ashley, second by Pam. We're adjourned.
Good seeing you guys.